Welcome to Oregon Indie Film, a video podcast that shines the light on Oregon's independent film industry. I'm your host, Dawn Sellers. I interview Oregon's independent filmmakers who offer insights into the creative process, challenges, and triumphs of making movies in Oregon. This podcast was created in part because of a conversation I had a couple of years ago with today's guest, Kristina Haddad. Over coffee, we talked about how the local indie film industry in Oregon is so much more than what most people know. We brainstormed ideas of how we could work together with the stakeholders in the state to brand Oregon as the indie film capital. Since that time, I've been working on the pieces I needed to put together to launch this podcast. It's my effort to start the conversations and shine the light on the creatives that contribute to Oregon's independent film industry. I'm excited to share my conversation with Kristina Haddad in today's episode. Kristina is a writer, a performer on stage, film, and voiceover, and an acting coach who is passionately dedicated to performance and the art of storytelling. In this episode, Kristina shares her thoughts on Oregon's independent filmmaking industry, the creative talent that she's witnessed over the last decade as a successful acting coach in Portland, her own film, Miss Ethnic Nonspecific, currently in pre-production, other films she's working on, and the nonprofit she founded, Brett's Bass Fund, which honors her late husband, renowned bass player Brett Rothfeld, by providing resources to aspiring bass players who might not have the resources or support to learn. I know this episode will leave you inspired, as I always am when I have the opportunity to chat with my friend, Kristina Haddad. So I'm here today with Kristina Haddad, a filmmaker, actor, teacher, coach. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn.
And
you do a million things too, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I like to list them all.
Yes.
And I really wanted to bring Kristina in for this podcast because this podcast wouldn't exist without her. We talked, maybe 2 years ago, about just ways to amplify the filmmakers in Oregon, the independent filmmakers, knowing that there are so many of them doing great things and not really getting the recognition that we feel they deserve or that the state deserves. And we kind of came up with the term that Oregon is the indie film capital of the world. And we both believe that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. Right. So, Portland and Oregon, well, Oregon's a very obviously landscape diverse state.
Right.
Portland itself is such a hotbed of creativity of all kinds. And I think people are very much drawn to the city because of the freedom around art, the diversity around artistic expression. And so I think with so many artists here and it's being so robust that way, filmmakers, independent filmmakers are drawn to it here. And I think there's like the perfect combination of climate whereby independent film is like really thrives here. And looking at the landscape, no diss to other cities, of course. Every city has its special, unique qualities.
Yeah, but we all love Portland, right?
But we do love Portland, and part of that, as you know, yes, I'm an acting coach and actor myself, writer, and being privy to some of the independent projects that have happened here, been created here, that are such high caliber, that incredible talent, both, behind the lens and in front of the lens. And so in this whole sort of like cornucopia of things, it became very clear to me that a way to elevate, the state is to kind of claim that title. And I don't think it's not deserved and that it can't thrive and really grow in that way. And so, yes, the conversation we had came out of that, or that, German idea or that conversation that it could be really branded in that way.
Yeah, and just brainstorming kind of different ways to do that.
Yeah.
And the one that we came up with was to shine the light on filmmakers. And so I kind of ran with that idea and developed this podcast because of that.
I love it.
Because it's not only, we say filmmakers, and I think when most people say that, they think producers, directors, and actors. But it's really so much more that we have. We have amazing sound people. We have amazing grips. We have, the beautiful locations that people have access to. So it really is this ecosystem of independent film.
That's a perfect word for it.
That we have here. And, a lot of films are made without a lot of money.
Yes.
That's the amazing thing to me is that, we see films fundraising constantly.
Yeah.
And really, we're just supporting one another here.
Yeah.
It's filmmakers supporting filmmakers and making things happen. And I think that's the magic of Oregon independent filmmakers.
Absolutely. And I've seen so much cross-pollination where, and you all have a mixer that brings filmmakers together and POV filmmakers, and there's a few other things like that in town where things get born from those relationships. It's really exciting. If I may speak to something that my acting studio is doing right now, and it's beyond Portland. It's actually also in Los Angeles, but we do this annual Lab Fest. It's a 3-minute film festival where actors, writers, directors put together a 3-minute film using only their iPhone. I bring this up because what people can do with an iPhone 3-minute film with one topic is absolutely breathtaking, which of course there is the 72-hour film festivals and all those things, and the things that people create are just, mind-boggling. So I think that's like you said, this ecosystem of just like people foraging and creating and germinating things that are really unique and special and collaborative. You mentioned that there is like more than just the actors, directors, producers. Grips, sound people, makeup, costume, all of it, art, so,
We do have it all here. And talented people.
Yes.
Both union and non-union.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, and back to the Lab Fest, that's an amazing event. And many of those short films go on to win other festivals. So they compete within the Actors Lab, with the other students, but then they're also, once that is over, many of them enter these short films in other festivals, and I've seen many of them win. Exactly. Amazing, yeah. Well, and kudos to you and your acting coaching and education, because my film, Almost Boston, I think the majority of my actors were from your class.
I was a little proud. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little proud. I was like, ooh.
So you're doing a good job.
Very happy. I feel very proud about that.
Yeah.
Very honored to work with all of those actors. But I think, we were speaking before we started the podcast about this actual moment in time and how it even is more prescient to make independent film and independent work. And that it feels like there's like a moment in time that's happening both in Oregon, Portland, and just the landscape of the world where artists of all kinds I believe, are kind of, this is a time to create art and stuff that is out of the lines, out of the, when you're coloring, I guess, out of the, however they say that, drawing outside the lines, and I think Portland has such a very deeply creative, innovative, evocative kind of thing. The people that I know here that create are so innovative, and so, the ideas just askew where they make total sense and they're so creative and original at the same time.
Yeah. And they really feed off of one another.
Yes.
I noticed that too, that just the creativity and the determination to make really good films. And I think, we're tired. I know a lot of filmmakers in Portland are tired of the gatekeeping of Hollywood.
Exactly.
A lot of people feel that way.
Right.
And, the mindset here is just make your own stuff.
Yes.
If you're an actor and you want to be in something, write something.
Absolutely.
Find some friends, find some crew, and just create.
As you're saying that, it always makes me think of, and some people might argue against this, I'm sure they would, but I'll just say my point of view. Even if you create that short film, that 2-minute film, that feature film, whatever it is, and if it resonates with one person, if it brings one person some inspiration, some laughter, some understanding, some kind of shift for that hour or 10 minutes or 3 minutes, you've done your thing.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we're talking about independent film, it makes space for that, those voices, the voiceless, the stories that never get told, the points of view that are like in the crevices hidden away that get the light shined on them. And that to me is the most powerful thing, because if you're in a marginalized community, or if you're someone where your story has never been told because Hollywood just still can't get it right, or they want to keep it in a tight little bow and make it look all pretty and what have you, and then you see something where you go, no, that's really what that looks like. That story they're telling, that's the truth of it. It couldn't get made outside of independent film. That, I think, is the most powerful thing about it.
Yeah, I do too. And I think just the ripples that are created from those stories.
Yeah.
Like you said, if it resonates with one person, that could go on to create ripples throughout many other people.
Absolutely.
And film is permanent. You make a film and it's going to last forever. We may be gone, but our films will last. And I think that's an amazing thing. So tell me a little bit about Actors Lab and what you offer there.
Thank you so much for asking about that. So the Actors Lab is a studio that's actually based in Los Angeles. It was the director and founder is J.D. Lewis. He's actually my mentor and like family to me. There's studios in Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and here in Portland, Oregon. And I think the thing that I think is unique about what we do is, I want to say I call it a full body workout, a very holistic approach in that we really meet each actor where they're at, but our classes are ongoing. We cover a lot of things in each class. Each class have a improv or a warm-up exercise, work on audition techniques, scenes and monologues. We help you with the business side of things. But in addition to that, it's a real cultivated community. And I think that's just as powerful as anything else, is that, and our approach is really to, really help any actor or writer or director or creative, because we love having other creative people in our classes, kind of reach their potential to go beyond what they might, think is possible for themselves. So actually in class, we have that Lab Fest, but sometimes, I might assign someone to, write and direct their own scene, to understand what it's like to be, in that position. But I feel it's a very powerful community of actors and artists, and feel very proud and honored to be able to work with the actors in the Actors Lab. And if anyone out there is looking,
definitely.
we have a lot of fun, and we also work really hard. Yeah, we do both.
Yeah, and it isn't just for actors, like you said. It's really, and in true, indie filmmaker fashion, right? We do everything. Yep. So, if you're into filmmaking at all, you should definitely check out the Actors Lab. And you guys even had, you had your class, was it last year's class, that actually made a feature film?
Oh, yeah.
The Great Divide.
Yeah. Speak to that for a second. That is mind-blowing. So, to the point of having directors and writers in class so they can learn to work with actors better, John Skipp, who's a prolific writer, novelist, incredible human, and actor, he started class to understand more, from the craft point of view. while he was in class, he recognized the significant talent in class, which it is, and I'm not biased. It is.
It is. You're
it's a very
class,
talented group, and I just have got lucky with that. So he was so blown away by that inspired that he wrote a film for everyone in class. It wasn't sanctioned by the Actors Lab, but they raised their own money, and they created a feature film called The Great Divide. It is fantastic. It is social commentary. They're going places with that, and they did it on a pretty shoestring, but there it is. You know, I just, there it is right there. And so.
Yeah, I think they have a screening coming up soon. I'll put it in the show notes, but I think it's, I think it's next week. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it is then, yeah.
It's that's amazing that they were able to do that and fundraise. And,
and they fundraised, they did it, and then on to the next thing. And, I think, too, another powerful thing about these collaborations and independent film is that I think as individuals, it's like, oh, you know what, I can do that. There isn't the gatekeeper. And even from the financial aspect, and I know it always boils down to that to a degree, I really think people love supporting people in their creative endeavors. And I know that's been the case for me. And so if anyone's listening thinking about I don't have the money, it's not like we're talking 500,000. Like,
if you have it, it's great.
That's great, of course. It's like wonderful. But
it's not a deal breaker for making a film.
There's people who are not in the arts but love the arts that would love to be a part of an artistic project. Yeah. And I think that's always a smart way to go is, Aunt Kathy in Omaha wants to be in the movies, never was. Okay, I don't know, you know what I mean? But it's so.
Well, and you have a project that you're working on. It started out as a stage play.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's called Miss Ethnic Nonspecific. It was a stage play that was done here in 2017, and we actually raised money all from the community here to put up that.
Was that part of Fertile? Was that Fertile Ground?
I did a reading of it at
Fertile
Ground.
Was it okay?
So
perfect.
There you go. Like it's a perfect iteration of reading was at Fertile Ground, which is a local new works festival for theater. And then I was encouraged and I was determined to make it a play. It originally was a one person, then I added 2 actors in. And it just got really positive response. And a young filmmaker and actor, Claire Chun, who is based in Seattle, had been a student in its diversity initiative class through Cast Iron Studios casting office in town. She saw the show and was like, if you ever decide to make it a film, I want to direct it. And was so passionate and enthusiastic about it because it really has to do with diversity and Hollywood, and again this theme of like not seeing yourself on screen and what that does, and representation and self-identification and racism and misogyny and all those fun topics, all in a big pot, but humorously told.
Right.
So we started collaborating on writing the script, and then some events happened where she took over writing it, and now the script is done, and it's, I think, starting to get some interest. Yeah, we've had some people that are very interested because it's very timely right now. So we'll see what happens. But,
you even took that to the American film market. We ran into each other there in Las Vegas last year.
Yes.
So hopefully you got some interest.
We did get some interest, and we're communicating with people from that, and reminds me, I've got a list of people I need to follow up with right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that person. Yeah. Then I'm also working on another project with someone here in town that's related to another kind of topic that's important to me around grief and loss, and but it's actually going to be a comedy, and involved in some independent projects that are coming up. And fortunately, last year was performed in a couple of independent films, union films, really incredible scripts that were all cast in the region.
Yeah, you've been in quite a few local productions that have come from outside the area as well as based in Oregon films. Yeah.
Yes, which is always really, really fun and cool to see. So one of them is called Dead Deer High. They actually filmed it in Washington State, but it was cast through the local casting office. And there was a few LA actors, but mainly from the Pacific Northwest. Magnificent script, like stunning script. Another one called Pelican that was all filmed at the Oregon coast. Again, like gorgeous script.
Oh, yeah.
Feel very fortunate for that.
And so you split your time between LA and Portland, is that right?
So I have an agent in Portland, in Los Angeles, and so I get auditions coming up from there once in a while, and I go down because I have family there and some work and things like that, but based here.
Well, and just out of necessity. I mean, I think, in order to be a working actor. Yeah, because let's be honest, a lot of the independent films don't pay a lot here. They're just not able to because of the financial need. But what are you working on now then, other than your own project? Are there any other films that you can share that you're working on now? It feels like things are somewhat slow right now, but then I keep hearing about all these things happening. So Hey there, if you're enjoying this episode of Oregon Indie Film, don't go anywhere. We've got more great conversation coming up. And if you believe in uplifting local voices and the power of independent storytelling, we'd love your support. Hit that follow button, share the show with a friend, or leave us a quick 5-star review. It makes a big difference. Want to get more involved? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com. Now, back to the episode.
There's an independent union film called Mother, Daughter, Me.
Oh, yeah.
And another amazing script and incredible actors. So I'm excited to see where that goes too. But I do know that there is a Friday the 13th fan film that is going to be happening in fundraising that I have a role in coming up. James Sweet is the writer-director. He's fantastic. That's kind of brewing. And then there's a film that I was cast in that it just keeps getting delayed, but it's an independent film that's going to be done here, kind of another it's a foreign horror film. I feel like there's another one that is casting right now called The Mural that a lot of people are auditioning for that I'm involved with. So there's stuff happening. There's like the pot. There's stuff going. I'm happy with that. I'll take that.
Me too. I love it.
I always like to have I know that I've got one thing brewing on the stove. You know, it just feels better to know that there's something percolating on that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And so with your project, you're in the fundraising, you're just starting fundraising.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So if anyone wanted to support that, they could connect with you. We'll put your info in the show notes, and they could reach out to you to help support that.
Got the pitch deck on that.
Yeah. And then you also, so not only are you all of the things we've listed, but you also have a nonprofit.
I do.
Brett's Base Fund,
yes.
And tell us just a little bit about that. And I know this is your month right now.
This is our month.
This is your big fundraising month. So
I appreciate you asking about that. So Brett's Base Fund is a nonprofit. It was founded by myself and friends of my late husband and Brett Rothfeld, who was a prolific bass player. And we give out scholarships for people to learn the bass guitar that don't have the resources. And last year, our first year of giving out, we gave out 7 scholarships. This last year's 14 scholarships. They get a year's worth of bass lessons. They get a bass guitar setup, mentorship with a professional musician. We've got Zach Carruthers, who's the bass player for Portugal the Man, as one of our mentors. So this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So the idea is we do this thing called Noise-a-thon, where people commit to practice 15 minutes a day, any kind of noise. It could be karaoke, it could be chopping vegetables, it could be singing, playing an instrument, lullabies. And we have a portal where they log that, and they get people to sponsor them, just like a walkathon.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I find so just like tingly about it is that you're practicing your thing, being motivated and held accountable, and you're raising money and paying it forward. And we found from the participants from our first scholarship round that just that practice, the learning of the instrument, getting the scholarship really made a positive impact on their mental health. And, having that thing to focus on, having those goals just can always be of benefit. I know it is for myself. I started learning the bass myself. And it's Brett'sBassFund.org. I know it's with it. And but I were really proud of it. And, we're very all volunteer. So a tiny bit goes a very long way with us. Yeah. But it goes back to that ethos of just one person is impacted in a positive way. Yeah. That just
the ripples that you create.
You just don't
and
know.
These are people, so not just kids, it's all ages.
All ages.
These are people who wouldn't have the resources to get a bass guitar and have lessons or have a mentor. And so it's really reaching people who have this desire and no resources.
That's right.
Pretty amazing. It really is an amazing thing. And this is only your third year.
Yes.
And you gave out how many scholarships last year? 14.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's not too late to donate to that.
Oh, all year long.
All year long. May might be your big fundraising month that you can give.
We would love it all year long.
Or any musician that's out there that wants to volunteer time.
We would love that. We really, we've got a few on our wish list, Esperanza Spalding and, some bass players of note that if you're listening, this is your thing. The bass gets short shrift, It
does.
The bass just kind of gets and so bass players, I think, are really, when they hear about it, they're like, it's all about the bass. It's all about the bass.
All about the bass, yeah. I think bass players tend to be kind of shy.
They kind of
are in the, in the background a little bit. I have shared this with you before, but I played the bass guitar when I was in high school briefly. Just briefly. But it's a fun instrument. I think that doesn't get the recognition. And it's so important when you're listening to music.
Oh my God, because I've learned so much about it and just taking lessons. But so we are, anyone out there, we can use any kind of support. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily filmmaking, but hey, maybe it'll be a documentary.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're documenting things along the way. And I could definitely see a film coming out of that.
And also maybe some musician that writes some music for a film.
Oh, exactly.
Even. I mean, it's again, it all kind of interconnects, and interweaves.
It does. And so we talked a little bit about the projects you're working on and kind of what's coming up for you or what you're doing now. But I always like to ask, if you could dream big, if you could have the biggest dream in filmmaking, what would that be?
I mean, for the state, for the city, or for myself?
For yourself. No, for yourself. Well, myself. I mean, really, for anything, but really for yourself. Like, is there a specific film that you would like to make, or is there a film you'd like to be in, or an actor you'd like to work with? I mean, it could be anything. What's your big beautiful dream?
I mean, if there was, no boundaries.
No boundaries.
On anything. It would totally have a foundation or a nonprofit that was dedicated to independent film that had oodles of money. That could mentor and contribute and be the place where film could be birthed from. That to me would be thrilling.
Yeah.
To take, I'll just say, with these Lab Fest films or seeing filmmakers in town and working with, I'm going to say, and I know others in town would say it, other acting coaches I know have the same feeling, and filmmakers and talent, like there is enormous talent here, acting talent. And just I see it and it just kills me sometimes because I'm like, I always say, like, I want everyone to know about you guys. I just can't help it, you know? I see the things that are done and I think, gosh, having a platform, but that's that winning the lotto, having a big chunk of dough and being able to like just like create a facility, like to create like like I heard that the Hollywood theater area, they're trying to sort of make a district.
That's exciting.
Which I think is really awesome. That's like, I read that, I was like, yes, but to have this shiny, beautiful building that was dedicated to film, like a studio, but dedicated to independent film in Oregon, like a real hub, like with grounds and
and some studio space,
like a real facility that is like branded that way, like the Nike whatever out in Nike, like the campus. That's what I'm saying. A independent film campus. That's it.
I like that.
Oh my God, look what we did, Dawn.
We
want
an
make that
happen.
Film campus, like AFI, a little AFI kind of thing.
Well, and I think, things like this podcast and like POV Filmmakers is really building towards that. So, POV Filmmakers is sort of an incubator for beginning independent filmmakers. And we have very experienced filmmakers there too. And then, me creating this podcast to kind of have people become aware of what's available here in the films that are being made here. I think those are baby steps towards that big dream. And then having like the Hollywood Theater working on that project in the Hollywood District. I mean, it could happen, right? It could happen.
I mean, you just need a benefactor. I mean,
truly, it's money.
Need a benefactor.
It's all about the money.
If someone's listening, again, from one of those, entities that has the money, but an Oregon independent film campus.
I mean, I think it could be very successful. We know there's all the talent here.
Absolutely.
And the films, could be made. It's just really, that is a big need in Portland, is some facilities for films.
And I would say, people might, yes, of course, LA, New York, Atlanta. I think Austin's probably any type, other cities. But again, I keep landing on this state and this city because of just this like abstract amount, this abundant amount of the diversity of the landscape and the types of creative people that are drawn to the city.
That's what makes us unique.
Yes, is there is like a very expansive brain trust that comes to a city like this. And that's what I see here. It's very,
Yeah, and I think it's all happening in little silos.
I think so, too.
Throughout the state. I know Eugene has a big film group. Klamath Falls has a film community. So I think there's all of these little areas. And even within Portland, there's a lot of little siloed filmmaking groups happening. So I think just really collaborating. And,
I think so, too.
And a big campus would do that.
I mean, it
would do that.
Incredible.
It would be incredible. I love that dream.
I know.
That's, I
could see it, too. I just see it.
I know, I can see it in my mind, too.
I know.
So, the other thing that I just wanted to ask is, what advice would you give? Maybe an actor or a writer or somebody who's listening who's interested in starting out? Something maybe somebody shared with you when you were starting out.
Well, I just feel that if you have that tickle in your body, if you have that instinct, if it's just rolling around in your body, it means to me that is your heart's desire, that something needs to be birthed. And I would say, as like for an actor, if someone is dreaming about acting or thinking about it, 100% get into a class. And I mean, obviously, but there's lots of amazing teachers in town.
There are
lots of resources. But I would training number one, and because there is, I feel very strongly about this. I'm old school. It is a craft.
Yes,
it is a craft. It is a learned craft, and so I think that is number one. And because there's a lot of options here, that's something. I think if someone is a writer and an actor, or just a writer or an actor that wants to write also, or film, there's a couple things. One is just make an appointment with yourself. I heard that from, like make that date with yourself, or like pay yourself, they'll say like write a check like $50 for,
I've
like
heard that, yeah.
Saturday from 10 to noon, I'm going to pay myself $25, theoretically, to sit and work for 2 hours on my script or on my craft or whatever it is, on my idea. And you do have to put those guardrails up. I think accountability is really important in that you can say to a friend, will you be my accountability partner? I really want to get this script done, and I feel like if I don't have someone to hold me accountable, it's going to be freewheeling, it'll never stop. And that person can help you be accountable. The other thing I also am a big fan of is if it's a film or a play or a class you want to get into, play that card, meaning if it's a script, rent the place that you're going to do the table read. Just rent it. Pick the date, rent it. And you got that down. You got to work towards that now. Put some hard lines down that make it so that I now have this. It's like when you get cast in a play, you've got to learn the lines, or a film, you've got to learn the lines. When it's freewheeling and on your own, there's no hard and fast. So it's like, I think putting those real hard things in there that make you actually have to do that, along with someone to be accountable for. And not circling back to the Actors Lab, we actually have an accountability circle where you have to say what you've been doing, what you're going to commit to do. And you're saying it in front of a group, so it keeps you accountable. It's hard out there to, as an independent artist, to keep that accountability when you're passionate about it.
Yeah, and especially when things don't go as well as maybe you would expect or would hope, it's easy to just not do it.
Oh, it's so easy.
But when you have the support of a class or of a network, I'm a big believer in networking, as you know. And I think, networking gives you that accountability and just that support. And I believe in saying things out loud, I'm going to make this film.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to do this. And so
then people ask you about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's right. I guess I better do it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Even this, thing I was talking about, they have a deadline on this short script thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, my advice also, like on a more sort of philosophical life level, it's now.
Right.
This is it. Like there's nothing. No one's standing on your shoulder watching, and it's your life, it's your heart's desire, it's your life energy, and if you're compelled to it, then who cares?
Right.
And again, if it's even you just writing the thing and one person, it's the act of the doing it. But I still think the act of the doing it opens things.
Opens the doors.
It does.
I believe that too.
People start coming around, ideas start happening, people get involved you wouldn't think, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was amazed at the support I received for my film.
Yeah.
People that I didn't even know had heard about it and came forward and wanted to support and be part of it. And so I think that's true. I think just saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and working towards that every day, right? Like you get up in the morning and it's what am I going to do today to make this happen?
Well, you inspire me because you are a person that does what they say, and you do it not small. full tilt boogie, and your project was incredible. Like,
thank you.
So no surprise that it's doing so well. And
so we first worked together on a film, a short film pilot, or I guess it was episode 4 of Oh My Dating Hell. And that was very inspiring for me personally. But it's doing well now.
Myra Lisa Allah, she's incredible. She's a fireball she's a producer, a writer, actor, and so she created this series and filmed up here, independent, raised the money, hustled, did it all, and it's been circulating film festivals, winning awards, and she's now in Los Angeles, but she's a very active filmmaker and very inspiring, and she had a story she wanted to tell, and she's telling it, and it's hilarious. So I think that's a really nice highlight, that example of someone creating, and just doing it.
I agree. Very inspiring.
Very
for
inspiring.
Sure.
That's, I think, also being inspired by other people.
Yes.
I will say that too. I feel that it's a very supportive community. People are rooting people on.
Absolutely.
Everyone's rooting. It's that whole thing, the boat lifts and what have you. I so believe that. It is true. If someone's getting success, I'm right at that F on. Yes.
I think that is also one of the unique things about Portland and Oregon independent film community, is that we really do want everyone to succeed.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the people that don't last. They move away or they do something else, they choose another path. But it's really, I see that continuously, that people want others to be successful, and it's hey, how can I help you? How can I help you with this project? And that's amazing. I don't think that happens in the other areas. I don't have any experience in those other film hubs, but I don't hear about it happening there.
Yeah, I feel like we do have that, and I feel too we have really incredible casting people here. That the casting offices here are very, very, very passionate about what they do and do a lot of independent films. Obviously bigger budget ones, but still always looking out for the actors, always trying to make them as diverse as possible. And so I've really admiration for the casting offices in town. I don't know if they get enough credit, but they work so hard. And other people in town, Michelle Damas, who's the president of the SAG-AFTRA board, trying to bring in independent film, and all the entities that are really working hard, that fly under the radar, that are really behind the scenes doing so much work to try and get other films brought here outside of the homegrown stuff,
Right. Yeah. I think there are a lot of efforts to bring the bigger productions in, because we do have the talent here.
Yeah.
We have union actors, we have union crew.
Yeah.
We have it all.
Yeah.
And so that does help the whole ecosystem, whether it's just Oregon Independent, not just, but whether it's Oregon Independent Film or if it's a studio production that comes in from LA, it still helps the ecosystem of Oregon filmmakers.
I love it. I just do. I think, gosh, I can just see it just being, and why not claim it? Why not claim it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to share or talk about?
Oh my God, I'm trying to think of my stuff that I go on and on about. I feel like I'll of course leave and go, why didn't I mention that? Whatever,
Yeah.
One more thing I'll mention. Everyone has a story to tell.
Yes.
Everyone has a story to tell. And I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing people's stories. I'll just go like this and go, keep going. It's like looking at someone's wedding book and you don't even know the couple and you're like, I just love looking at family pictures.
How'd you guys meet?
Know these people.
Everyone
has a story to tell. And it's going to resonate with someone.
Yes.
And I feel like story right now is so needed. It's the way to keep us connected, inspired, hopeful, seen. And I just would say to anyone listening, don't hold back on your story.
The world needs your story.
The world needs your story.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're less like this, me, yes, you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does. And I know in class when people share stuff that's, more personal, vulnerable, always there's someone nodding and being grateful
Mm-hmm.
that someone finally said it and they feel not less alone. They feel not as maybe, off to the side with whatever that thing is. I know it's true for me. When I see something represented where it's like, oh my God, they do that too, they feel that too. So I think the big thing is everyone has a story to tell, and you can tell it. You can tell it in your own way, in any way. And that's the thing about independent filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
You can decide.
Mm-hmm.
It can look whatever it wants to be. And that's like the crux of it.
It is independent, right?
It is.
That's why
totally
it's called independent.
And
you're telling your own story.
Yes.
And I believe that we're all more alike than we are different.
Oh, I do too.
And I think that's why stories connect.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I totally do. It's like music. I mean, I will say
Yes.
music is my other
Yes.
great passion. And you go to a concert, I was just at one on Saturday night, and you see this crazy diversity of people. Who knows what their politics are, what their backgrounds, what their interests are. But here everyone is.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, for that artist. And I think there's something about that is just beyond transcends.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess, again, circling back to the times we're in, and we're in some times right now.
We are
in some times. And historically, in these times, art is the thing. It's the salve. It's the rebellion. It's the expression. It's the place for us to put our rage and all of those things, whatever you feel. And I just think it's the time. And, great music, poetry, film, art, visual art. It all comes from generally times of discord and strife.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think we're at this kind of moment that I just can't stop advocating for people to create. And I'm in the little mush pot doing it myself.
Yep, me too, exactly.
Stirring it around and
creating the joy, creating things that bring you joy,
Yes.
and artists will save the world, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like what we have, and nature and dogs, of course.
Well, and dogs, of course, yeah.
I love dogs.
Share a love of dogs.
Dogs,
for sure.
dogs.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. And we'll put all your info in the show notes so people can connect with you. They can always find you through Actors Lab in
Absolutely.
Portland. But also you're on Instagram.
Yes.
And do you have a website?
I do.
Perfect. We'll put all that in there, and people can reach out to you to either continue the conversation or support your film.
I just am so grateful for this conversation and inviting me in, and you inspire me. You're doing so much.
Yeah.
You're pulling this, up, and I thank you so much for the conversation.
We're going to make Oregon the indie film capital.
Yeah, you guys just wait.
Yeah.
Mark our words.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more about or support Kristina's film Miss Ethnic Nonspecific, Brett's Base Fund, or the Actors Lab, or just continue the conversation with Kristina, you'll find her contact information in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review and share it with your friends. It really helps us reach more indie film lovers. Want to support the podcast by being a guest or a sponsor? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com.